Good afternoon, or I should almost say good evening. It's 6 p.m. here on the West Coast, and I just wanted to join you for another day of Chew Digest Diary. This is the third day of me doing this. I just want to make a habit out of this, and supposedly you can make a habit out of anything if you do it like 22 days in a row. And so that's what I'm here doing and just taking one small step at a time. I'm not working too hard at making this too much of a production. Just thought I'd come on and have a conversation like I am talking to one of my kids, one of my great grandkids. I don't have those yet. My grandkids, or even my future great grandkids, or somebody somewhere down the line that came after me, from me. And anyways, good evening. I got up again this morning, took another 4 mile walk. I did not get a chance to walk outside because it was raining this morning. So I went back over to the mall again to walk around in there. And it's really strange to walk around that mall. When I was a kid, growing up in the 1970s and the 80s, when the malls were really at their heyday, if you will, um, they were a much different place. They just everything about it. They were much warmer, probably because they were using a lot more incandescent bulbs rather than LED or compact fluorescent. Um, but even just the way the malls smell. I mean, now with all the clothes, the plastic, and just everything, it's just, for somebody, if you have a really strong olfactory sense, it can be almost overwhelming. Uh, I will say this though, I do love me the smell of Cinnabon. Uh, but there's no more place in the mall like was it Mrs. Baker's Cookies or whatever. There was always, I think there was like two different places that made cookies when I was a kid in the mall, and so just the smell of fresh baked cookies. Oh my gosh. Being able to go and get an orange Julius, or a inexpensive slice of pizza or whatever, back when those foods were seemingly not as bad for us as they tend to make us. Anyways, I'm not going to argue whether they're good or not, but man, I really enjoyed eating a lot of that mall food. Um, Yesterday we talked about electrolytes a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of um, say that electrolytes are really an important part of who we are, and I'm pretty well convinced that if we don't have our electrolytes in order, or we're not giving our body sufficient access to electrolytes, that we're going to have a much less beneficial ride in life. And uh, you know, is there, what happens if you don't get enough? What happens if you get too much? I can tell you, if you get too much, you're just going to pee out the rest beyond what you need. But also our body is very conservative. It does not let go of what it needs. If it doesn't just dump them um, for no good reason. If your body is uh, insufficient, it's not going to let any extra go. It's going to conserve them. Uh, and that being said, I do, when I have my orange juice and I add the extra electrolytes to it, I'm telling you, my body just feels electric. Uh, it just it's almost like my body gets the the rheostat turned up, another 25%. It feels really, really, really good. Anyways, um, I had a few thoughts while I was at the mall today, walking around, and one of them was about our inner narrative. We talk to ourselves on a daily basis. What kind of conversations do you have when you walk around? If you want to share some of those with me in the comments section, please, by all means, it's down there. That's what it's there for. Um, and, for me, one of the things that I've started doing a little bit more, more in the recent number of months is I've started, well, let me rephrase that. Let me back up. I've been using ChatGPT for a few years now, and as it gets better, as they keep coming out with new versions, it would almost give the appearance as though it's becoming more conversational, although it's really not. A lot of people refer to ChatGPT as artificial intelligence. I mean, uh, it's not artificial and it's not really intelligence at this point. And what I mean by it not being artificial or intelligent is that it's not artificial because it is man-made. It is. I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's natural in the sense that it was created to serve a purpose. Is it the same as having a conversation with another human being? No, not by any means. Uh, it's a large language model that's based on numbers, and what uh, it's basically, imagine like autocomplete on steroids. In that, when you are texting on your phone and it makes suggestions as to what it thinks you're going to be saying, or the rest of the word, for you to just click on tab and it'll fill in the rest of it for you. And that's really all it does. I mean, it's not anything special. It's not actually having a conversation with you, but it does have access to a lot more information, uh, using the internet as its library. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, what that means is that it has access to a lot of information, a lot of misinformation. And so you need to be willing to expect that it's going to, well, let's put it this way, you need to take it with a grain of salt, or a whole lot of salt sometimes. And, feel free, if you sit there and you think that it smells like bologna, uh, challenge it. Well, I mean, try it sometimes. I mean, I've done that before, and it says, yeah, yeah, you're right, you caught me. Or I'll say, well, where did you get that information from? And it'll admit, well, I have no idea, but I was just, this is what is, you know common in the quick search that it did. Like, what it'll do is it'll go out to the internet and it'll search through 20 different papers in just milliseconds or seconds before it responds to you, and it'll see how other people, other humans, have written, and what words they put in what order. So it's doing the same thing that we do. I mean, like me having this conversation with you, I'm not reading from a script. Don't get me wrong, right over here, I do have a few things written down, but I'm not reading from a script. I'm looking my camera right in its lens. But, anyways, so Did you ever think about having conversations throughout the day with ChatGPT? Opening up your inner narrative to the outside world. Uh, I know a lot of people are still rather um, touchy, I guess you could say, about what they want to put on the internet or divulge about who they are. And the reality is, I imagine the internet has us pretty well indexed as individuals at this point, probably way more than we know. And even maybe even way more than some of us might be comfortable with. Nonetheless, it I have found that it is a good tool to bounce ideas off of, and it can help me determine whether I need to continue a line of thinking or just start all over again. And it saves me a whole lot of time of having to do a lot of extra research that I would have had to do otherwise before these claptrap. I like to refer to Chat GPT as simply a claptrap. Um, and it's just, it's like a circus toy, if you will, or an entertaining tool. But it's just that, it's a tool. It's not something you need to be afraid of. It's not going to jump out of the screen and do something to you. And the other thing too is I listen to a lot of lectures while I'm out walking around. I spend 4 miles a day, roughly 30 miles a week walking, and each mile takes about 20 minutes to walk. So 30 miles a week, 20, that's 600, that's like 10 hours a month. I'm sorry, a week that I get to spend listening to either audiobooks, lectures, podcasts, and whatnot. So, it's a good bit of time to expose myself to other large language sets so that I can use my own large language model up here to work through some of my own ideas with what I'm going to school for, and the my study of aging. Um, but one of the things that kind of stuck out to me today was this idea of, if you're not using AI every day, and what I mean by AI is, Chat GPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft, whatever their program is called, or Grok. If you're not using those each and every day, you're going to get left behind, especially if you're, still in a career setting. If you're a student, by all means, learn how to use them to your benefit. Don't, it's, let me just say, it's not a good idea to use them to do your homework for you. Uh, there are a lot of software systems that are out there that are that your learning institutions are using, and they know whether you're doing that or not. And the reality is, if you're going to junior college or university, and you're using these large language models to do your homework for you versus using them as a study tool, you're the one that's being hurt by that. Nobody else, because the reality is you're not learning if you're just allowing the LLMs to do your homework for you. But by all means, you can use them in very creative ways to help you study. I mean, you can use them as a first line response if you need help with something, if you don't have access to uh, well, what do you call it? A tutor, for example. You can always just go and ask that question to ChatGPT, and sometimes the answers are good, sometimes they are not. You might even consider keeping a few tabs open where you keep ChatGPT on one of them, Microsoft Copilot on the other, uh, Grok and Meta AI, and ask the same question to each one of those and see how they differ. You might be surprised how much they can differ. But my own personal opinion is that if you're not using these things yet in your daily working world, if you're out working, you're out of school, you're done with that. If you're not using them now, that day is coming. And the sooner you can get ahead of that curve, the better off it's going to be for you. My recommendation is start off with small steps. And, it's it's just like anything else, whether it's going to be getting out and exercising. If you I'll give you an example of when I started walking. I started off simple, just walk around the block once. Then, after doing that for a couple of days, walk around the block twice or go around 2 blocks or whatever. And eventually you'll get to the point where you're walking quite a bit and you'll run out of new views, if you will. In other words, you will have walked around your neighborhood so many different darn ways that it, you're going to know where everything's at. But, like I said, small steps, make habits, build habits, do something more than 22 days in a row. Watch what happens. It's pretty easy to build up habits. It's easy to drop them too. Unfortunately, it takes a whole lot less days to get out of the habit than it is to get into a habit. And another thing regarding habits is don't put any roadblocks in the way, man. I'm telling you, sometimes I think we can be our own worst enemies in that if we put too many caveats in front of, okay, well, I want to do that, but if I do that, I need to do this, that, and the other first. Well, if your goal is to get to number 4, but you can't do number 4 until you do 1, 2, or 3 first, you may never get to 4. So you know what? Skip it. Just go to 4. Get out. Walk. Um, and another thing from one of my assignments today, from a YouTube video that I watched for one of my classes, the guy was talking about growth being more likely when you set a learning goal and run tiny experiments. I mean, don't the idea of I'm gonna take y'all way back here. If you're somebody that's my age or maybe even a little bit older, you'll remember that there was a guy by the name of Reggie Jackson that was a massive home run hitter for the Angels baseball franchise. And this guy, gosh, I don't even know what his record or his statistics are anymore. But I know at one time he held the record for having like the most home runs of any baseball player. But at the same time, he also held the record for strikeouts, because this guy was always swinging to get over the fence, and he did a good job doing it. But at the same time, there's another way of looking at that. And there was a movie that came out not too long ago here with Brad Pitt. It was called Moneyball, and it was about the Oakland Athletics baseball team and how he had, I don't remember what the deal was, or with how he came up with this idea, but eventually what he found out through uh, this one of the other teams, um, management, an accountant for one of the other teams that he hired, he did some statistical work and found out that it's more important that you get on base than, the way that they had been doing baseball for a number of years. So this character basically said, "Look, just keep putting people on base. Just one after another, one after another, one after another, just singles, and they'll work their way around the bases. And guess what? The A's did not win the World Series that year, but they broke records with the amount of games in a row that they won or whatever it was, and they literally changed the way baseball has been played from that one just over one season. There was like the time before that, and then there was the time that has followed ever since, and just that one season made all the difference. And it was just taking, running tiny experiments and finding out what works. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is it's great to want to, always get a home run or a grand slam, but sometimes it's more important just to get on base and do it over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of like what I'm doing here with these videos every day. I'm trying to get myself back to doing broadcasting like I used to do when I was a podcaster. And I just need to get used to being on screen, being on camera, being able to have a conversation, even without a script. And I'm not going to do that if I don't do what I'm doing right here, right now. So you guys are getting to see me play this out. And, when I think about, like I was talking about earlier, this idea of having a daily ongoing conversation with ChatGPT, which, quite frankly, with these little guys right here, it's not that hard to do. You can download the ChatGPT application and you can use it to have an ongoing conversation with, and then that way you can use it as a way that in a lot of ways, it'll serve as your own working memory, an extension of your working memory. It's not going to replace who you are, but you can learn to use it as a way to extend who you are. You can use it as a tool for, in some sense, having like a daily diary that you don't have to stop and open up the book and pull out a pencil and write it down. Just talk to it. It'll remember it. You can then go back later and ask it questions about your own prior conversations with it. And so one thought I wanted to leave you with is it's not about replacing thinking. That's not what these things are going to do. Not for everybody, maybe for some people it will. But the way I see it is it's not about replacing thinking, it's about thinking better. And right now, utilizing the application ChatGPT on your phone is going to be one of the best ways you can extend your ability to think better, to think faster, to save yourself a ton of time. And with that, I want to encourage you to start using it. If you're not using it yet, if you don't know how to use it, just get out there, start playing with it, and figure out how to use it. I use it in a lot of really, really great ways. I can tell you right now, the work that I do in life, some of the writing that I do, some of the homework that I do, that uh, you can use it to find references, find citations. It's going to save you a lot of time, and plus, I can guarantee you now that will AI, or what we call artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation take away a lot of our work? Yes, eventually it will. But in the meantime, if you don't learn how to use it, you're going to get left behind. And the person that does know how to use it may not be as smart as you, but if he knows how to use these tools, he may just accelerate right past you and might leave you in the dust. So, anyways, get to know how to use ChatGPT, have a conversation with it, and let me know what you discover for yourself. And maybe we can have another conversation about that in the future. In the meantime, I need to go and get myself ready to have some dinner. I'm going to make myself a nice little salad. Uh, I do enjoy eating a lot of things, but man, salad is good. Anyways, enough said. Talk to you tomorrow.